YouTube, it's Cousin Dan again. This time I'm going to show you how to remove a bad paint job and replace it with a good one. I'm going to be using some parts from my motorcycle, but the same principles apply to your car. The first things I'll show you are all the products needed to make this job happen. First, you'll need 3 different kinds of sandpaper: 400 grit, 1500 grit, and 2000 grit wet or dry sandpaper. Body filler, if you have any damage, if the damage is worse, you'll need fiberglass resin, hardener, and some fiberglass itself. To work with the rubbing compound, which you will also need, you want a kit of foam pads that can fit onto a drill. This kit was about $5 at AutoZone. We're going to take parts of this bike that have imperfections like this here that are a result of a bad paint job that didn't include the wet sanding stages, and also parts that have imperfections and damage like this from being tipped over, and bring them to a condition like this where I have wet sanded everything on this part, some places just to the paint and some places down to the primer, to make a smooth surface that can be painted and then wet sanded a final time for a very nice shine. What I'm going to do now is take a little container of water and let my sandpaper soak in it. I'm going to take my first step, which is a 400 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to sand it in one direction only, not in circles or a cross pattern. The reason I'm doing it that way is so that when I come back with the next stage of sandpaper, I can cut across it the other way, and then when I look at it in the reflection from the sun, I can tell which marks are from the 400 grit and which marks are from the 1500 grit. When you paint a vehicle, as the paint actually sprays out of the nozzle on the gun, it comes out in little droplets. So when it hits, it kind of makes this little orange peel wavy effect if you blow it all up. I'm taking the ridges from the paint job that was existing on this bike and bringing it down to the level of the valleys. So when I look at it and I look at the glare of the sun off of the surface, I can make sure that there are no little bumps or kind of dimples in the paint itself. While I'm sanding, I periodically take my dirty cloth and rub off the parts that are wet and look at it in the glare, because that is really the best way to see the dimples. And I can see here that there really are none, so I can move on to the next step. During the process of the first stage of sanding, I found 3 cracks. One here, and one here. Now to eliminate these, you flip it over to the back and you see that actually 2 of them have been worked on before. Someone probably tipped this over somewhere, someone who owned this bike a while back and tried to fix it, but they didn't use enough hardener in their resin for this fiberglass, so the part can actually flex there and develop a new crack. This one here has, I don't even know what this was that they tried to fix it with, but it's not right. So I'm going to replace that with some fiberglass, and this one here was never worked on, so I'll fix that one too. Now to make the resin, get all that ready for your fiberglass, you take just regular resin, which you're going to mix with your hardener. I'm only going to put in an ounce or 2, and just a tiny little bit, and make sure you have something to stir it with, because after the first time you work with fiberglass, you realize that you don't want it to get on everything, and it does. So take precautions to keep it separate. Just for as much as I put in, you can just put just a couple drops of the hardener in, and that'll be plenty. Now, when you stir it up, you only have a limited time before it all hardens, because this stuff doesn't harden with air, it hardens based on the mixture that you do. It's a chemical reaction that hardens it. It'll actually get kind of warm if you touch it. So now that I probably have about 5 minutes to work, I'm going to take a piece of this fiberglass, which I'm also keeping in a bag, keep away from touching it, because if it comes in contact with your skin, tiny little pieces can stick in and actually itch, and it's really annoying. So I'm going to fix first this one that I'm not really sure what happened, and probably take a little smaller piece of this fiberglass, which you can stretch and manipulate because it's not really a fabric. So I'm going to take a little bit of resin and put it on before I laid the fiberglass. And here's a good reason to wear gloves, because sometimes you just can't help but to touch it. You do not want to do it with your bare hands, because, like I said, not only does it itch, but it will stay there for the next several days. That's not fun. So, you know, kind of just smear it all together, get it in between each one of these fibers. Like I said, this stuff is not a fabric really, it just manipulates everywhere, so sometimes you just gotta mix it on on the surface like this. So that's why I'm doing this from the back. If I was going to try and strengthen it from the front, I would have to do tons of sanding after this to get this back smooth. So I'm going to have the strength come from behind, and then I'll put a little body filler on the front to fill the crack, and then it should be done after another stage of sand. This next one is the one that was attempted to be repaired with fiberglass. But they didn't really use regular fiberglass. They kind of used that fiber gauze stuff, and that could be the reason why it's not as strong. So I'm going to do the exact same thing and apply this rather than body filler, which is what it looks like they used here. I'm going to lay on top of that some more fiberglass. Now, fiberglass is one of those things, it's kind of like an epoxy. You want to, the resin is like an epoxy, but the fibers really hold everything together. Rather than being a solid, kind of a homogeneous mixture, you have a texture to it, and that texture is really what gives it its strength. I'm done with all the fiberglassing now, and you can see what it looks like when it's hardened. All of these I've pretty much already trimmed off any excess. This one here I left some so you can see. When you don't mat it all down before it's dried, it won't do you any good. It's just hanging up here, and you just need to take a good sharp knife and cut it off. This is the front side of one of the cracks that I reinforced with the fiberglass, and the resin actually came through the crack, so there's no need to fill the gap with body filler. I just sanded it off. Before you start, there are a few things that you want to make sure are at a safe distance. Your car, other parts, anything that you don't want speckled orange, and your lungs. The final step before painting is to wipe down your part with a rubbing alcohol dampened cloth. I like to hit it with some air too. You'll want to set your compressor's output to about 65 psi, adjust your paint flow settings, and then practice on another surface and you're good to go. Make your first coat pretty light, keeping back about 8 to 10 inches. On each piece, I did 3 coats of paint, a light, a full, and a medium. Now that they're all dry, I'll show you how to take them from looking like this, to this, to this. Now I'm sanding with the 2000 grit. You gotta be careful around corners like these and down here that you don't go all the way through the paint. This next step is where the magic really starts to happen. Any good painter will tell you that a good paint job always begins with good prep work. It's easy to get ahead of yourself and jump to this step right away, but you really got to be patient with all your prep work, otherwise it won't turn out. Start by just putting a dab of the rubbing compound right on the surface. You'll want to do this in steps as well, using different rags for different stages. One for the initial shine rub down, which you will do in a circular motion, then one that's already been used, so you have to use your first one for this. You'll use that to rub very aggressively at the very end until the shine starts to show, and you'll want to look at it against the reflection of a light. One to take off most of the rubbing compound when you think you're done, and a clean one to take it all the way to its final shine. A buffing pad is a great way to get most of the initial work out of the way quickly. With your final broken in cloth, you've just got to rub away. Builds good forearm muscles.
When you're done compounding, you just got to put it back together. Another thing to look out for are stickers like this or other areas where you can add personal touch. This is an original sticker, and the last guy that painted it just painted right over it, so I just sanded it away to expose it, and then painted it orange, and then exposed it again so that it looks like it's coming out of the gas tank. You can also click on the link below for a written form of this instructional. There are step-by-step instructions, there are pictures and cues that correlate with the timeline of this video. If you have any questions about this instructional, just send it to me in a comment or a message and I'll answer it the best I can. Don't forget to subscribe to The Cousin Dan and send me all your ideas for future videos. What do you want to know?